Hello, how is everyone doing? Today's video is going to be slightly different. I'm actually starting a new series on my channel. I'm not entirely sure what the name of this is going to be called or how many episodes there are going to be. So the crux of the series is that we're going to be looking at retro technology, how inexpensive it is, how easily accessible it is, how little work it might need in some cases, and what to look out for in order to get less work but still have an awesome retro product. And you don't need a lot of knowledge to get it working. The first episode, we're going to be looking at old film cameras. Now, this is something that I've recently been personally delving into, and it's also a perfect example of how much fun you can have. Very little money, very little things needs to go into actually refurbishing it, but when you do refurbish it, it's something that's really enjoyable. So we're going to be looking at two different types of film cameras specifically in this video. This one right here is the Yashica Electro 35 GSN. This was actually the same camera used by Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man. And then the second camera we're going to be looking at is the Olympus 35 RC. Now, both of these cameras are kind of amateur level. The Electro 35 is a little bit more kind of prosumer level, but they're both very easily accessible to buy. You can get them for around £30 each if you're just looking out on eBay for the right deals. There's lots of other different cameras that you can get. If I was to recommend any camera specifically, it'd be the Olympus Trip 35, mainly because it doesn't require a battery. It has like two different knobs that you need to use on the actual camera whilst taking photos, so you just get used to those. And they're very, very cheap. You can get them for around £15. But I thought I'd kind of look at a more kind of realistic one for someone who's really getting into film photography. Yeah, so these are the two different options. So as I mentioned, one of the really main benefits of these old cameras is that they don't require a lot of work to them. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at that these cameras need is something called the light seal. Now you can buy 2 sheets of this stuff for £3 each, and I'll leave a link to everything that I mentioned in the description below. You can also buy kits. They're way more expensive, and obviously you can only use it for that specific camera, and it kind of removes the fun because essentially what you're doing is just cutting it up. And if you're not too worried and too anal about having super crisp pictures, then you don't need to be like super specific with it. You can just kind of slap it on there, making sure that no lighting is getting through to the best of your ability. And lastly, we need to look at loading the film. So this is something that's a really rewarding process. You get like lots of like popping open doors and mechanical things, and it's really a very satisfying process. It's very easy to put film in. Essentially, all you're doing is just opening the door, you slide the film in. Some cameras may vary. You might need to lift up a lever or something. And then there's a little notch on a wheel at the far end. You just have to slide the film into that notch, let it catch on the little latches, and just wind the camera and then shoot the photos a couple of times, and it will just get it ready to start. And you'll know that it's ready because on the top of the camera there's a little box which will say the number of photos that you have taken, and it should be on 1. As I said, I don't want to get bogged down on lots and lots of details of how to use a camera because otherwise it's going to get really confusing. But essentially, you've got 2 main things that you need to focus on, something called the aperture and focus. Now, focus is obviously a no-brainer. A lot of cameras will basically just have like some numbers on the lens, and you just look at your subject, you guesstimate how far away the subject is, and then you pretty much know that you're going to be in focus. Some more modern cameras will have like a little yellow box in the middle, and you have to move the focus ring until the things in the yellow box line over each other, and then that knows that it's in focus. And lastly, aperture. Now this is probably going to be the most simple explanation of aperture ever. Essentially, when you're in somewhere dark, you want the aperture to be open, and when you're in something really bright, you want it to be closed, so that you're kind of balancing out how much light is letting in. And that's pretty much it. Honestly, it doesn't get more specific than that. And as I did mention before, some cameras have auto functionalities, so it's not even something you need to worry about. And I guess the last thing to do is go out and take some photos. Let's go. We're out here in town in Jersey, and down the road from here is a market where there's like loads of fruit stalls and flowers and rivers and ponds and stuff like that, so it will look really, really photogenic with this camera. Obviously you saw in the last couple of clips that we loaded it up with film, so it's all ready to go. So I thought we'd come out here and take some photos, which is what we're going to do right now. So that's it, 24 photos have now been taken, and so now what we're going to do is I'll show you the process of removing the film, and then the next thing to do is get it developed. So the first thing to do is press this little button on the bottom. Most of them are pretty much all the same. That basically just disengages all the lock mechanisms, and then you just wind the film. It might feel a little bit resistive. I think that's counterclockwise, and you'll feel it winding. And then when it starts spinning loosely, that means that it's actually done. So you can just go ahead and close that lever, pull the bottom open, or however you open yours, and just like that, you now have a little film canister with some photos on it. So now that you've actually taken the film out of the camera, the next thing to do is just take it into a shop that develops it. Of course, you can actually do it yourself. It involves quite a lot of chemicals, and this is kind of just like an amateur video, so we're not going to do that in this video. One of the most exciting things about film cameras is that you don't really know exactly how the photos are going to turn out until you get them developed. This experience only cost me £7 and it was done in Boots. Thank you very much to Boots for actually letting me film this process. Essentially there's a big machine which uses the chemical process to prepare the film so that it can be scanned using another machine and then printed. It's a very, very exciting experience, and I urge all of you to try it at least once. Opening the pictures is just so exciting. You always know that there's going to be a couple which haven't turned out very well and a few that have looked incredible, but for me, all of these pictures looked very, very good. Now, I don't claim to be any sort of pro photographer. I'm definitely someone who just enjoys retro tech. However, even just the colours and the grain and the focus and the blur in the background, which the technical word for that is bokeh, it's just incredible. The photos just look amazing. Collecting tech is great, but when you collect tech that's kind of obsolete or can't really be used, or it's impractical to use, it's definitely not the same feeling as using something that can be used and held and felt and touched and pushed around. But yeah, the film camera is just one of the most incredible experiences of retro tech that I've actually had so far. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This has been very, very different to my usual style, so hopefully you guys will bear with me if you're not enjoying it. And for those of you who are new to the channel and have watched this video, welcome to the channel. There'll be more videos like this in the future. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did enjoy the video, then please leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Behind it, and a few pockets of low pressure, and a fairly heavy band of rain showers and snow all the way from the eastern portions of Montana down to western sections of Nevada, and of course the massive high picking up warm moist air from the south, bringing it northward. So when the two masses collide over Kansas, we are looking